Hey, welcome everybody. Number 95. I hope you can hear me okay because I'm broadcasting from a new location. We're on the Boston Post Road, my friends, for the SongBike Guitar Q&A live stream number 95. We've been at a Main Street location. We've been on an Elm Street location. And I think this might be the final home on the Boston Post Road. How are you, everybody? Hope you had a great week. My week involved moving, but here I am. The internet was installed so recently. It's like you can smell the fresh internet. That's how recently the internet was installed at my new location. By some miracle, it happened. I thought I might have to do this live stream from home, which would have been great. The cats might have wandered by. One of our two moderators, music fan, would be in the other room moderating from the sofa, I hope. That way it would have worked out great. But here we are. There may be some background sounds you hear. I'll tell you all about it, but it's all good. So I want to say a few hellos. Rock Lobster. Hello. Joseph from Oklahoma City. Hello. Wingo. Static Zigzag. Beginning guitar lessons. Our other moderator. Thank you for being here. BGL. William Collier all the way from Texas. Randy from Colorado. Booba John from right down the road, right? Booba John. Matt Delahunt was first in the chat. Hey, Matt, thanks for being here. We have a great show for you this week. Lots to talk about. We have a poll up and running. I'm very curious about the poll question. Do you buy music anymore? Do you pay money to hear music that you want to hear? Your options in this week's poll include, sure I do. I buy CDs, records, and tapes, just like I always did. Option 2, I do buy music, but via the streaming services such as Spotify, YouTube Music, etc. How about all of the above? I fall into that category. I buy music in a variety of ways. Or no, you do not pay for music because there's so much free music out there. Why would you pay for it? So we have 13 votes in already. We just started. We got 13 votes already. So do vote in that poll. I'm super curious. I know it's a tricky question because you might not even be aware of what your habits are at the moment. You're aware of what you used to do back in the day, right? You go to the record store. That's how you know. Or maybe your buddy had a record you wanted and you had a blank tape and you had you made it happen that way. How about taping songs off the radio? Anybody remember that? You had your boom box right there or something when a song came on that you liked. You hit the button. So let me tell you what we're going to do today, and then we'll get right down to business. On the agenda today, lots to do, lots to talk about way beyond just that poll question. I'm going to teach you some lessons you'll never forget, including a lesson I'm calling the 6-7 trick. We're also going to talk about Songwriter guitar. We didn't get into it last week, so we'll get into it today. A segment I like to call Who's in Town. Have some fantastic people coming through my neck of the woods, and hopefully they're on their way to your part of the world very soon. We have a student quote of the week, and the student quote of the week is not just a quote, but it's going to be something that we'll talk about a little bit. We'll expand upon it. I have my own dumb question of the week. There's a segment I call Should I Sell Out? And I hope we can get to that. It's a dumb little thing that I like to share with you guys, all about the people who offer me the opportunity to sell stuff to you. I hope we get to it. I haven't looked at my email much recently, so we'll see. I've been busy packing and unpacking boxes. I'll tell you about the move. We have, of course, our play along song of the week. It's a good one. It's a classic. It's a blues tune that has been recorded by lots of people, even people outside of the typical blues realm. You remember a while back we did that tune called sure you remember the tune that was recorded by 9 million people, and I said, is this possibly the most recorded blues song of all time? It'll come to me. Well, this is another one of those tunes like that with a lot of history behind this tune, and it's easy. You will need a capo, so get a capo handy. Yeah, so that's what we have at the moment. Why am I here, though? I'm here for your questions. I hope you ask a bunch of questions today. Put a handful of question marks in advance of your question. That's how I know your question is aimed at me. Winston from Wales. Winston, thanks for checking in. Gon R says, good music must be paid for. Yeah. And yet, as you guys know, there's so much just sitting out there. You click and you hear the music you want to hear. I don't know, Scott Rhodes is in the chat. Hey, Scott, thanks for being here. So let's get down to the student quote of the week, because this is something I want to get some reactions to this. Student quote of the week. I was having a lesson a few days ago, and what came up in conversation was how the student was much better at the song now than when we first tackled the song a long time ago. And obviously the student's skills had improved, right? The student was better, they're better now than they used to be. But he said an interesting thing. He said, I chose that song too soon. He was very frustrated with it, had to put it down for a while. When he came back to it, he found he had the skills to play it. It's a beautiful thing when that happens, right? But I love how he said it. He said, I chose that song too soon. I thought that sums it all up. We've all been there. Something you really want to play. And it's not just that the song is difficult. It's that you really are not making the kind of progress that is satisfying whatsoever, right? And it may be that you chose the song too soon. So timing is everything, right? Well, how are you supposed to know if the song is just a hard song and takes practice, or if you chose it too soon? I don't know. It's nice to have a teacher who can give you some feedback. You might say, well, Jonathan, you're the teacher. You should have given the guy some feedback about it and said, hey, this song doesn't seem to be going anywhere. So why did you? So let's table it and move on. It just happens this particular student is not a regular student. I see him once in a while, and it's possible that months go by in between our lessons. It's just the way that it happens to be with this particular student. But that is one of the advantages of working with a teacher. You can say, I love this song. What do you think? Is it simply challenging, or am I going to find it really frustrating? If it is out of my reach at the moment, can you give me some building blocks, some strategies? What do I need to do to get ready for that song? Is there a similar song that's just one notch easier, right? These are perfectly good questions to ask a teacher, right? But it may be that you chose the song too soon. Does this sound familiar to anybody? That might just be how it happened. If you did have that experience, hey, Frank is joining us. Frank says, I'm finally catching you live. Welcome, Frank. If you have had that experience, let us know in the chat, what song was it and what was it about the song? Maybe it was a tricky finger picking tune. I'm just going to say Tears in Heaven by Eric Clapton. But maybe that was the first finger picking tune you ever did, right? So, maybe it was too soon, right? So if you have had this experience and you had to just walk away from a tune and come back to it fresh, weeks or months later, what song was it, and what was it about that song? And did you ever get back to it, and did you find that it was at least a little bit easier, or maybe it made sense in a new way? Maybe there's something about it that you could grasp that you couldn't grasp before. I'm very curious about that. Chan is joining us from Bakersfield, home of Buck, Merle, and Moe's Right guitars. Chan is working on my video on Tupelo Honey. Chan, you're very welcome. How fun is that? Yeah, Bakersfield. I've never been to that part of California. Chan, is there must be some sort of like museum or landmarks or something out there, right? Some sort of, landmarks that call attention to the musical history of Bakersfield. There must be, right? Let us know. Let us know in the chat. So you know what I'm talking about with these challenging tunes. Let us all know in the chat what that tune might have been for you, especially not just a hard tune, but a tune that was you chose it too soon, and when you came back to it, you had at least some decent success that you would not have had, even if you kept grinding away at it day after day. It just wasn't happening. I'm curious what that tune might have been. I remember I had a teenager back when the Eric Clapton Unplugged album came out, and she was bound and determined to do Tears in Heaven, to learn Tears in Heaven, the note for note Eric Clapton transcription. And we did it. This is 25 years ago. No, almost 30 years ago. I mean, when that album came out, the mid 90s, right? And I was kind of monitoring her, because back then, these were half-hour lessons, and the entire half hour would be like these little 4-measure segments of Tears in Heaven, you know? And I kind of had my eye on her, because I was waiting for, the first sign of, just being done with this song and really needing to move on to something else. But she stuck with it. She stuck with it week after week. And she got great at it. I mean, she could really play it. That's the exception, though. Someone who grinds away at something, even if it's a little beyond their level, they have some success. But because of that, all I need is one example. Because of that, I'm hesitant to tell someone, now that song is too hard if you don't do it. Let's do it for a week or two. See how you feel about it. Let's see what kind of progress you make. Who am I to say you can't do it, right? Or that we shouldn't do it? Now I don't remember how long it took her, but I'm going to guess it was a few months. I mean, easily 10 lessons, 10 weeks, sure. But man, she got it. I mean, she could play it like Eric Clapton, very interesting. So that's the student quote of the week. I chose the song too soon. Totally understandable, but come back to it later on. That's my advice. I have a dumb question. You ready for a dumb question? This is my dumb question. Has it ever occurred to you that if you started the guitar when you were really young, you'd be amazing right now? So there's my dumb question of the week. If I started really young, would I be like the most amazing guitar player 20, 30, 40, 50 years later? What do you think? In theory, right? In theory, started the guitar when you were 10, right? You played every day. By the time you're 20, by the time you're 30, wouldn't you be awesome? Yeah, of course, right? Of course. So why is it the dumb question of the week? Life doesn't always work that way, Yeah, it'd be great if we all started at a super young age with a great teacher, supportive family, great age-appropriate instrument. When you grew out of that little 3/4 size guitar, you moved up to a larger instrument. Sure, in theory, if you're stuck with it, lessons, daily practice, yeah. Life doesn't always work that way, right? You get sidetracked. Maybe you get sidetracked by songwriting and improving your physical skills, your picking speed, or your chord theory. Maybe that goes by the wayside because you're working on the songwriting kind of stuff. Maybe you're working on the technical stuff and you spend weeks and weeks and weeks learning Eddie Van Halen, right? Learning Eruption. But you're really not spending any time with chord changes or something else, right? So kind of a dumb question. If you started when you were super young, would you be amazing now? The answer would seem obvious. But life doesn't always work that way. I don't know. I wonder, amongst the folks in the chat, did some of you start super young? Let's say, did some of you start 10 years old or younger, like single digits? And especially if you did you play continuously up till today? Or did you sort of play as a teenager, take a break, come back to it, a decade later? I mean, that's, in my experience, the students I work with, that's extremely common. In fact, it's amazing if someone didn't do that. Start as a teenager, take a break, college, your first, starting your career, and you pick it up again when you're 40, maybe 50. But let us know, did anybody in the chat start at a single digit kind of age? And if you did you play continuously, or were there gaps? Winston says, I start at 74. That would be double digits, 74. I can strum a few songs now. I wish I started much, much sooner. Yeah. I get it. I get it. You know, but you were leading your life, man. You were doing other things. You know, and I'll say this live stream after live stream. At least you're doing it now, right? At least you're doing it now. It's good for your brain. It's good for your spirits. Joseph started at 11 and stopped at 12. Yeah, didn't start again till 65. It happens. You guys remember the famous musician who took a few lessons as a young kid and didn't enjoy the had a bad experience with the teacher, didn't enjoy, put the guitar down, picked it up a couple years later and went on to be Bruce Springsteen, right? Imagine if Bruce Springsteen had had a great experience as however old he was, 10 or 11 when he started. I don't know. Pretty fortunate that he came back to it after putting it down and went on to sing and play for all of us. And I'm sure he's not the only one, but he's the example that comes to mind. He's the only famous person I know who had a negative experience and put it down and then came back to it. I'm sure he's not the only one, but that's he's the my only example. But I know they're out there, right? They're out there. Chris says, I started guitar at 13. I remember the awesome feeling of singing and accompanying. Yeah, it's when you can put it all together. You can sing and play. What's better than that? You're the complete package, right? You know, add some drums and some harmony vocals from the bass player. Life is good. Chan, talking about Bakersfield, Chan says Buck's Crystal Palace. He played there every Saturday night before he passed away. And there's the Bakersfield Music Hall of Fame. Okay, so Buck's Crystal Palace is it still in operation? I imagine it is, right? Buck's Crystal Palace. See, here in Connecticut, we don't have I shouldn't say that. To my knowledge, we don't have a Connecticut Music Hall of Fame. You know, we live in a super interesting country, right? It makes 100% sense to have a Bakersfield Music Hall of Fame. And I don't know if the taxpayers would pony up for a Connecticut Music Hall of Fame, which isn't to say there's not great music here in Connecticut. And historically, I think Bakersfield might be the move. Yeah. Scott says, started at 39, stopped at 40, picked it up again at 59, and no stopping me now. Yeah. So Scott, at 59, as you can tell, there are people in the chat who are thinking like, dang, I wish I started when I was 59. I get it. Hey, you're here. You're doing it now. That's what matters. You're doing it now. Okay, let me teach you a lesson you never forget. You guys ready for this? Let's do it. A lesson you never forget. I'm calling this the 6-7 lesson, and you will not need a capo for this. I'm going to put this up on the big screen, and the 6-7 trick actually is the full name. The 6-7 trick. This is going to get a little bit into music theory, but nothing that you can't handle. Okay. Here it comes, the 6-7 trick. If your screen goes black for a moment, do not fret. But momentarily, if not immediately, you will see the 6-7 trick on the screen. You guys know I'm partial to naming things tricks. And here's why. Number one, it totally makes sense to my brain that what you're about to learn is a physical skill, just like a magician can learn their physical tricks, right? And you add it to your bag of tricks, and whoever has the most tricks wins, kind of, right? The most experienced players have so many of these, they've lost count of them, and they're very comfortable pulling out these tricks at a moment's notice, right? Okay, the 6-7 trick. Where does the name come from? What we're talking about on this lesson you'll never forget, adding the 6th degree and the flatted 7th degree of whatever the relevant major scale is. And you add the 6th and the flatted 7th degree for an effect. It's a trick. The 6th degree adds what I would call a happy sound. The flatted 7th degree, that note adds a bluesy sound. Okay, take a look at the top of the page. We have your basic E shuffle. I'm just playing that first measure, okay? If that is familiar to you, excellent. That's the goal. Many of you will, it's not that you'll learn some new physical skill from this page, but this will give you some names for what you've been doing. Okay, so we have an E power chord, that 0-2 on the 2 fat strings. So an E power chord is known as an E5. The number 5, by the way, comes from the fact that we're playing the note E and the 5th degree or the 5th note of an E major scale. That's why it's called E5. As soon as we play 4 on the A string, the 4th fret on the A string, that is the 6th degree of an E major scale. And so we name that an E6. It's not a true E major 6 chord, but it really serves our purposes to call that E6. When you fret the 5th fret on the A string, that's the flatted 7th degree of the E major scale, happens to be the note D as in Delta. And even though it's not a true E7 chord, again, it fits our purposes at that moment to label that exact combination in E7. And we go back to the E6. Now, you've heard that your whole life. You've probably played it before, and now you know what's going on. The E power chord is fine. When I add in the 6th degree, that's the 4th fret note right there, that's C sharp. When I add that note, it's kind of a happy, light feeling. And that bluesy sound comes from that little bit of dissonance of that 5th fret, 5th string note D. By the way, I call this the 6-7 trick. Technically, it's the 6 flat 7 trick, but that sounded a little too clunky. So we're just calling it the 6-7 trick. Okay. Second measure, same thing, but focusing on the key of A and the A power chord and adding the 6th degree of the A scale, the 7th degree, or the flatted 7th degree, and back to the 6th degree. 2, 2, 4, 4. And just to wrap it up, the third one, the D. Lots of teachers, including me, would just call this like the D shuffle or the A shuffle or the E shuffle. And that's a good name for it, or at least one example, one way of playing a D shuffle. But I want to throw in a little music theory, or at a minimum, an explanation why you may see these things labeled D5 and D6. Anytime you ever see any number affiliated with a chord, it has to do with that scale degree, that note from the relevant major scale, which is being added to the chord, okay? Or added to the overall sound. We'll see that on line 2 in a second, okay? So adding the 6th degree of the scale adds kind of a happy kind of sound, and the flatted 7th degree adds that bluesy sound. Okay, so another way we can observe this, hear this, that cool blues bass line there in the second line, the E blues bass line. I'm playing the note E, the fat E string. I'm essentially outlining an E major chord. There's the note E, the note G sharp, that's 4 on the 6th string, the note B, that's 2 on the 5th string. So far, I'm playing the 1st and the 3rd and the 5th degrees of the E major scale. That's fine. Those are the chord tones of an E major chord. But when I add on that 4, that C sharp again, there's a nice happy 6th degree. And when I add on that 5 on the 5th string, there's that bluesy sound. Notice how the E shuffle at the top of the page, the very first thing we did, it involves the same notes as what we're doing right now. It's how we're strumming them, how we're sequencing them that's different. By the way, I encourage you to do these 3 lines with down up picking. The second, third, and fourth lines, the E blues bass line, the A blues bass line, the D blues bass line, down, up, down, up, down, up. The A blues bass line, same pattern, different starting point. And the D blues bass line. I'm giving these notes a swing feel. You can certainly give them a straight feel. Here's the E blues bass line with a straight feel. I'm going to do all downstrokes. Sometimes that's the appropriate way to do it, right? Even though I know I make lots and lots, I give you lots of encouragement to get good at down up picking. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes it's all downstrokes for consistency, for a driving kind of feeling. Take a listen to how consistent that is. And in a minute, I'll do it with down up picking. You'll notice it's just a different vibe. Here it is with all downstrokes. Doing a little palm muting. Here it is with down ups. A little bit lighter, right? A little bit gentler. Sometimes that's the right thing to do. Sometimes all downstrokes. Okay, now here's where it gets interesting. Line 4, see where it says C, and then it says C6, C7, C6. Okay, here's what's going on. I'll play it and then we'll talk about it. We're entering a world here where it's all about having fun with chords that you know and love and that you're going to be using for however long you play the guitar. You can't avoid C, G, F, all those chords, right? Until you get into jazz guitar. But most popular music, right? C, G, A minor, E minor, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so you'll see that there on line 4. There's a C major chord. And then I simply wrote in the notes that would effectively reflect the 6th degree of a C major scale, the flatted 7th degree, and then back to the 6th degree. My intention was to make it extremely clear which notes you're going to be adding to the mix to get that effect. You can play it exactly as I wrote it, but use that simply as a starting point. A C chord, and then middle finger, 3rd string 2, ring finger, 3rd string 3, back to middle finger, 3rd string 2. Use that as a starting point. But my ultimate intention is to get some nice light down up picks going. And create that kind of effect. Now, in a minute, I'll go into some detail about how the right hand can achieve what I'm achieving here, what I'm trying to do. Let's talk about the left hand for a second. At the moment, we're committing ourselves to the world of C. We're in the key of C, we're on a C chord. And with that in mind, the index finger, 2nd string, 2nd fret, right, is a C chord. The index finger is going to stay planted. That happens to be the note C. It's going to stay planted right there, okay? The other fingers, the middle and ring, have to move to get these other notes. When I need the 6th degree, which is the 3rd string, 2nd fret, my middle finger is going to leave its post. In fact, I'm abandoning those other middle and ring are just leaving. Middle finger is going to grab 2nd fret on the 3rd string. The ring finger is going to grab the 3rd fret on the 3rd string. Notice I'm keeping my index finger down. My index finger has not moved. And my middle finger is staying on the 2nd fret because I'm going to come right back to it in a second. way I wrote it out there, it doesn't involve any strumming. I'm going to add some more sophisticated strumming in a second. But like I said, you want to get your left hand accustomed to reaching over. I can't emphasize enough. You will be abandoning those 2 notes on the C chord. Don't try to move just one finger and leave your ring finger down, for example. You want both those fingers to get with the program. Okay, now that means even though you could strum lots of strings when it's a full C chord, all of a sudden you take those 2 fingers off. You can't strum the 2 strings those fingers were touching. That means your strumming has to focus on really the 4 treble strings. Okay, so here's 5 strings, but now it's the 3 treble strings. You understand why, right? As soon as I take the middle and ring off, those strings, the 4th and 5th strings, the D and the A, you can't play those anymore. It's not a C chord anymore. At least those notes, those open strings don't count. They don't support what we're trying to achieve. But that's okay. That just means your picking hand has to be very deliberate, conscientious. You could do all downstrokes. You could do down ups. Let's keep it simple. How about if we do 4 downstrokes? 1 on the traditional C chord, 5 strings. 1 on 3 strings with the middle finger, 3rd string, 2nd fret. That's the C6. Another downstroke on the 3 treble strings, ring finger, 3rd string, 3rd fret. And back to your middle finger, right where it was, 3rd string, 2nd fret. Still 3 treble strings. Now, guess what? That exact thing we're doing, look at the very next measure. Same deal with the G. In fact, no matter how you like to do G, doesn't even matter. For once, it doesn't matter how you want to do a G chord. I'm going to do G my way, the middle ring and picky way, but you don't have to. In fact, I'll do it both ways. Okay, check it out. Same deal. I'm going to strum 6 strings on the G, middle finger, 4th string, 2nd fret, ring finger, 4th string, 3rd fret, back to the middle finger, 4th string, 2nd fret. G major, G6, G7, G6. Sounds good, right? It's a 1-person band, So just then I was doing very light down ups. Down up. By the way, upstrokes, it's extremely common for upstrokes to really just glance off 2 or 3 strings tops. Do not make a big concerted effort to get 4, 5, 6 strings on your upstroke. It's not how it's done, and it will end up sounding clumsy. When I change to the G6 and G7, then my down ups are still very light, but only on the 4 skinny strings. Now, I really want the listener, you, anyone listening, I really want them to hear the work my left hand is doing, getting those 4th fret notes. I'm almost willing those notes to be louder when I start strumming on the 4 treble strings. I mean, I don't care what I have to do to make sure the listener hears that. I know it sounds goofy, but just willing those notes to be louder, somehow that it helps. Just telling yourself, I got to make sure those notes are. I mean, all the work you do, you don't want to get lost in a jumble of strumming, right? And again, I'm talking about the 4th string, 2nd fret, 4th string, 3rd fret. Now, if I were doing G the way I know a lot of you love to do G, that's okay. Index, middle, and ring. Is my G, and I'm just using my index finger to do 4th string 2nd fret and my middle finger to do 4th string 3rd fret. Nothing wrong with that. Those of you playing acoustic guitar can dig in and bang out these notes a little bit. Electric guitar, it's jangly. Everything wants to be loud. All the strings want to be loud on electric guitar. So those of you playing this on electric guitar will have to be extra cautious. I hate to say that, but you do. Otherwise, the work you're doing could get lost in that jumble of twangy electric guitar strings. Poopa John says, that guitar sounds great. Are you using a tube amp? I am. You got it. I have my little Fender Pro Junior, 1 volume knob, 1 tone knob. I got a bunch of little effects going on here at the moment. I have a reverb pedal, a compression pedal, and an EQ pedal. Those are what those are being engaged. There you go. But if it sounds good. Hey, I got a sweet guitar, man. It doesn't hurt to have a sweet guitar from LSL Instruments out of California. I recommend them highly. I told you guys a while back that they started a new line of instruments, still made by hand in California, a little bit less expensive because you don't get to pick as many a la carte options. They're just making these beautiful guitars with great quality everything, but you pick, you choose based on what they already have sort of right there. Does that make sense? As opposed to starting with a blank slate and picking every little detail. But you save a bit of money doing it that way. The series of guitars that I'm talking about from LSL Instruments is called the ERA series, ERA, the ERA series. And they encouraged me to buy one and check it out. And it was very tempting, but I'm on a one guitar budget at this level. But I hate Poopa John. It can't hurt that it's a pretty sweet guitar. And the pickup that you're hearing is a P90 pickup, which I've heard described as a single coil pickup on steroids. There's a single coil pickup back here on the bridge. This is my first. Actually, I had a guitar with P90s, and I didn't know it. I was ignorant. I just thought it was a funky looking humbucker. This is the first guitar I've played where I knowingly was aware that I was playing a P90 pickup. We Googled this recently, and we found that the phrase P90 doesn't mean anything, right? It was a part number, and it doesn't translate or stand for anything the way you'd kind of expect. Okay. Now, I know we're spending a lot of time on this, so I'm going to zip through the ones, and you guys might have already hopefully gone ahead, the F version, the E version, and the A version, and the D version, which is a little truncated there at the end, the D version. Okay, but let's do the F real quick. Notice I'm not encouraging you to do the whole F chord. We don't want to do a big old F bar chord. We need that pinky to be free. Many of you, if you're human, you will find it somewhat challenging on this F chord for your pinky to reach up to the 4th fret. I get it. One tip I have for you is you must have your thumb pointing up towards the ceiling. Your thumb cannot be parallel to the neck. Another thing, make sure there's a little space between your palm of your fretting hand and the neck of the guitar. You can't have your hand flush up against the neck like you're holding a snow shovel. For those of you who don't live in New England, a snow shovel, it's a shovel that you keep handy from November through the end of March. And yeah, it's for snow. You keep it handy, snow shovel. A regular shovel does not work. It's got to be a snow shovel. If you're smart, you buy them before they get expensive. When you see them going up in the hardware store in like September, October, you grab a couple. Then you always want to have a spare snow shovel, right? You don't want to have just one because they break. I break them. I don't know anyone else, but I've broken them. You're banging on some ice. You're trying to break up some stuff, and then all of a sudden the plastic blade just breaks, and then it's no bueno. It's not a snow shovel anymore. it's a pole. You gotta laugh. That version of F, by the way, the second string, third string, fourth string, that is an F chord. Don't kid yourself. All an F chord is 3 notes, and those are the 3 notes. Anytime someone tells you to play an F chord or asks you to play an F chord, you can play that right there. No skinny first string, no 5th or 6th fat strings. That's an A chord. It's fine. And it frees up your pinky. Now, you could bar the 2 skinny strings like a typical F, like a typical 4-string F. I don't recommend it. When I bar the 2 skinny strings, my pinky is much less comfortable reaching up to the 4th fret. I can do it, but it's less comfortable. Secondly, that high note, that high F on the skinny first string, first fret, it could be a little distracting to what we're trying to achieve. And what we're trying to achieve is this sound. I don't want that skinny first string to be adding on an extra note on top of that. So I know some of you are like, I can play F. I'm great at F, and I'm sure you are. I'm sure you are. In this particular case, I want you to work smarter, not harder, and make sure the listener and everybody can hear that little melody. Okay, the E major. Again, a little bit of a workout. For some of you, getting that on the E major, getting the pinky on the 2nd string, 2nd fret, that could be the challenge for you. Not reaching up to the 3rd fret, tucking that pinky in. Ooh, it's a tight fit for some of you. You're allowed to include the skinny first E string, but listen to see if that skinny first string overshadows the little melody we have going on here on the 2nd string. I don't know. I was just including that first skinny string then. I don't know. You certainly want to be skilled enough to choose whether or not anybody hears that first string. Okay, the A version. Now, this is a little bit, I saved this for towards the end because this is a little bit awkward. We got a regular A chord, however you prefer to do an A chord. What we're talking about is once you play the regular A, fretting the first string, 2nd fret. We have some options here. Tucking your pinky if possible. That's a tight fit if you have decent sized hands. But then you could also use your pinky for the flatted 7th note, 3rd fret on the first string. Then you have to get back to the 2nd fret. Plan B, the regular conventional A, however you want to do it. For the A6, bar 4 skinny strings with the index finger at 2. So I'm going from the conventional A chord with 3 separate fingertips to barring it to achieve that A6 sound. Now, once you do that, adding in the flatted 7th note, easy peasy. Ring finger, you could use your middle. I feel most comfortable using my ring finger. Okay, last one, D going to D6. That part is not too crazy. In my case, that was, I learned that from Bad Moon Rising. So it's a regular D chord, but the pinky's jumping on board, 3rd skinny string, 4th fret. And again, if that's a big reach, I'm not surprised. You can do yourself a favor by those same tips I gave you before. Middle finger pointing up towards the ceiling. Make sure there's a space there between the palm of your hand and the neck of the guitar. By the way, if any of you get any aches and pains, definitely shake out your hand if some of these stretches are messing with you every once in a while, even if you're so close and you think, oh, I almost got that thing, you're getting all tense and stressed, it's not worth it. It's better to shake your hand out and start again. You won't regret it. Okay, now some of you astute song bikers might say, well, I see the D, I see the D6. Where's the D7 note? Well, here's the thing. If you've noticed, there's a trend, right? The 6th degree of, all over this whole page is only 1 fret away from the flat 7 degree. So technically, the pinky on 4, it would just move up to the pinky on 5. I am not comfortable doing that. And that's why I didn't even put that on here. But yes, that's the move. I don't recommend it. You don't get any gold stars for doing that. If it's that important for you to get that note, that 5, then I would go back to the top of the page, the last measure of the first line, just the basic good old friendly D shuffle. Perfectly fine. All we're losing out on the fullness of the D major chord. It's close enough, my friends. It's close enough. Okay, there you go. There's a lesson you never forget. The 6-7 trick. That PDF you're looking at is available to members of my website, song-bike.com. It's already there. You can go and print it out right now in the PDF section. It's called the 6-7 trick. I hope that what we just did gives you some ideas for fun things you can do, especially say if you're on an E chord anyways. If you're strumming E chord, hopefully you'll remember next time you're on E chord, hey, I can grab my pinky. I can have some fun with my pinky. I'm on a C chord and my middle finger. My middle and ring finger can jump around, right? All these ideas. My firm opinion is that as you get better and better at the guitar, one of the things you'll be able to point at is all the tricks that you can do on the same old chords, D, G, A minor, all this stuff. By the way, everything you just did revolved around major chords, major sounds. Adding the 6 and the flat 7, especially the 6, it just doesn't sound so great with minor chords. It sounds jazzy and interesting, but here's a quick example. An A minor chord, good old A minor, one way to add the 6th degree would be the first skinny string, 2nd fret. So here it is, the normal A minor, and here it is with that 6. I mean, it's a cool sounding chord, but you might not find as many practical applications for that, So that's why I focus on the major sound. Okay, there you go. A lesson you never forget. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for letting me work that out. I have been doing this with a few of my students recently, but thanks to you guys, I was motivated to make it a document like that, a nice, clean, hopefully easy to read document, and that goes 2 directions. It goes to my website now it's at my website, and it also goes to any student who walks in the door who I think would get a kick out of doing what we just did. It goes in the file, my friends, and I have a massive file. That's what's going on. Okay. So, hey, it's just about time for our virtual play-along song of the week. Let's check in with our poll results. The poll question, if you haven't voted already, the poll question is, do you buy music anymore? So in the lead, 37% of you do still buy CDs, records, tapes, 8 tracks, maybe 8 tracks. 31%, nope. Plenty of free music out there. 23% do buy music, but you pay for Spotify, YouTube Music, all that kind of stuff. 9%, all of the above. You get music all sorts of ways. You pay for it and enjoy it all sorts of ways. Very interesting. 6-String Greg is encouraging everyone to hit the like button. Yeah, go for it. Why not? You guys know about the free SongBike Blues Guide that I give away, right? You can head over to my website, get yourself the free blues guide. It's very cool. Short, sweet PDF. It's free. You can download it instantly. It gets emailed to you. Okay. So the last 2 mornings, I wake up and the number of people who have downloaded that free blues guide is like exponentially more than the previous days. What's up? You tell me what's going on. You know, it's nice to give away a few copies, and that's great. I mean, it's makes me feel good, and it's good marketing, right? But the numbers for the last 2 days have gone kind of crazy. So I'm not complaining at all. But anybody, am I missing something? I don't know. It's a great book. I don't know, maybe word of mouth. If you don't have a copy of the SongBike Blues Guide, head over to song-bike.com. Just put in your email address. It gets emailed to you instantly. And the video that goes along with it is available at my YouTube channel. By the way, the link to that video is in the description of every live stream. I'm 99% sure. I'm going to check that. So if those of you who have that book, I'm just checking here, and maybe you haven't seen the video or you weren't quite sure how to access the video, I believe a link to that video is in the description of every one of these live streams, or just go over to my YouTube channel, and it's one of the more recent videos I've done. Charlie Beagle is guessing that because of the state of the world, that we have there's more blues, more need for blues out there. Yeah, everyone has the blues. Maybe so. Maybe so. Then I'm happy to provide the service. Okay, let me just see if there's anything we can jump on here. Hey, speaking of online stuff, I would love it if you guys gave me a follow on Instagram or Facebook. Just do a search for the term SongBike. You'll find me very easily. SONGBIKE is how I can stay in touch with you. Oh, I was almost worried that tonight's live stream might not happen for internet reasons. I don't know. I wasn't sure. I just wasn't sure. And I thought to myself, well, I can at least post it on Instagram and Facebook and let people know if it didn't happen. And that's just a way for me to communicate to you guys. So if you don't follow me on Instagram or Facebook already, I would appreciate that. And it makes me feel better that I can reach out to you guys and tell you stuff. Hey, I want to say hi to my mom, because my mom is a regular viewer of these live streams. I want to thank Beginner Guitar Lessons for being one of our moderators. Music Fan 1004, our other moderator. Music Fan, you keep me posted about dinner tonight. My son is home from college. Woohoo! And we have him home for the whole summer. Good times in my house. And tonight, I'm hoping and expecting that we're going to have some kind of great dinner. So Music Fan, keep me in the loop. Let me know how I can facilitate that. Let's get into our play along song of the week. Here it comes. Let me pull it up here. Okay. One of the most famous songs in American history. I'm not even exaggerating. This song has been recorded and recorded and recorded by so many performers. And we are tonight to be the most recent performers. Okay. There we go. Sitting on top of the world. Ooh, who can find a typo? We're going to have to fix that typo. That's going to make me crazy. Sitting on top of the world. I'll fix that. Okay. Give you a quick little background, although in the description of this video, I will put some links to some of the history behind the song. The song we're about to play came from a duo known as the Mississippi Sheiks. They were a duo, they also a trio at some points back from 1930s. The song was recorded by the Mississippi Sheiks. In fact, the Mississippi Sheiks are one of my favorite American musical groups ever. But it was also recorded by everyone from Doc Watson, Bob Wills and his Texas Playboys, Bill Monroe, the Grateful Dead, Cream. Did I say Jack White? Jack White from the White Stripes. Did I say Doc Watson? We are going to do the Howlin' Wolf version, which is a great version. Molly Tuttle and Billy Strings is a cool video of them doing it live. And in the description of this video, I'm going to post a video from YouTube. It's a video that was shot in 1978 of Sam Chapman from the Mississippi Sheiks playing this tune, as well as a Wikipedia link and a link to a website called American Blues Scene, which gives some of the background to this song, Sitting on Top of the World. Okay, many of you know this tune. Some of you might not know it. That's okay. In a moment you will. This song has been recorded by so many people. Oh, the other song I was thinking of, oh my gosh, it's killing me. Trouble in Mind. Trouble in Mind was a song we did during one of these live stream play-alongs several weeks ago. And like Sitting on Top of the World, Trouble in Mind is a blues tune that has been recorded by countless people, including plenty of performers that are not traditional blues performers. Okay, Sitting on Top of the World. Let's get down to the good news. Your right hand, for the most part, is just doing some nice chord strumming here. See those slash marks? The very first thing is an E7 chord, and then 3 slash mark quarter notes. That's just the efficient way to tell you to strum 3 more times on that same chord, right? That's all that means. So we'll talk about the chords in a minute, but your right hand, just nice, steady down strums. I'm catching the chords a tiny bit with the flesh on the side of my picking hand, just to have a controlled sound. We don't need the chords to constantly ring like this. Right? Let's be a little more in control. That is what your picking hand is going to do for almost the whole tune until the very bottom of the page. A nice turnaround. And again, this is based on the, capo on the first fret. How could I forget? Capo on the first fret, everybody. The turnaround at the bottom of the page is a pretty good, pretty accurate, authentic representation of the turnaround that's happening on the Howling Wolf version. So the bottom line starts off with an E7 chord, and then okay, classic turnaround. Okay, I'm just checking out what you guys are saying in the chat here. Okay. So that turnaround is not unique to Sitting on Top of the World, but it's absolutely mandatory that, if you're doing the Howlin' Wolf version of the song, you got to do that turnaround or something extremely similar to that turnaround. That's, Okay, by the way, I'm using my ring finger on the 4s, my index on the 2s. When there's 2 4s in a row at the those 2 4s in a row at the end of the first measure of the 3rd line, I'm just making a little bar with my ring finger. But those last 3 notes, that 0, 1, 2, I'm zipping back a little bit. The 1 is going to be with my index finger. That might sound obvious to you guys. I have seen people use something other than the index finger when they play a 1. Never do that. Always use your index finger on the 1, unless there's some very pressing logical reason to not use your index finger. And then middle finger on 2. So those last 3 notes, open, index, middle, okay? All right, so that's what I want to tell you about this strumming. The chords, E7 with 2 fingers and E7 type 2 with 3 fingers. Take a good look at that diagram up above, okay? E7 type 2, that's a conventional way to label a chord. That's a variation on a chord you already played. E7 with 2 fingers, E7 with a 3rd finger added, very commonly described as E7 type 2, or whatever the chord is, type blah, blah, blah. You could have 3 E7s in a song. Guess what the 3rd one would be called? E7 type 3, you got it. A7 does not really matter which fingers you use for the A7. I'm going to recommend middle and ring, because after the A7 comes A minor, and your middle finger is already going to be in the right place. The thing is, this song is relatively slow, so you still want to be conscientious about which fingers you're using, but it's not quite as crucial as with faster songs. Hey, Barry is joining us from Ireland. Barry says, Hey, Jay, yours is my favorite YouTube channel. Barry, thank you very much. All the way from Ireland. Love it. Love it. Barry, I'm going to come visit someday. My wife and I both have some roots there in Ireland. Like, I know half of the United States say, "Oh, I'm part Irish." I know. You probably hear that all the time, but it's true. And then B7. I imagine there's a couple of you out there who are not super familiar with B7. B7 is not a physically hard chord. It's just that it uses all four fingers, you know. So we're going to do the play along in a second, just to I just want to get myself ordered. I want to walk you guys through it maybe one time, and then we'll do it for real. Sitting on top of the world. Okay, so let's do it in slow motion. This is not for real, right? This is this is for fun. You can make a mistake, you can mess up, and then we'll do it for real in a minute. So in slow motion, one summer day, she went away. She gone and left me. Here's the A minor. She's gone to stay. Second line. Now she's gone, and I can't worry because I'm sitting on top of the world. And then the lyric would come right in to lead us to the second time through, right? That's the whole tune, in case I'm not making it totally obvious. That's the entire tune. It happens to be a 9-measure blues, 9 measures. Although I wouldn't be surprised if on some recordings of it, people might even add on one more little measure of a B7 or something. But anyways, a 9-measure blues. Okay, you guys feel pretty good about this? Because I'm ready to do this if you are. Any more tips, any questions? You guys got your capo at the first fret. Number one reason to put the capo on, by the way, is because that's how you can play along with a Howlin Wolf version. And that's always the goal of these play alongs, to prepare you to play along with the real version of the tune, or in this case, specifically Howlin Wolf's version of the tune. I don't think there's a definitive version, although, I mean, I guess I would vote for Howlin Wolf's, but Doc Watson's version is so cool. So I think, but there's no one definitive version. There's just a lot of really, really good versions. Okay. I think I'm ready if you guys are. Bear with me. Let me get this up and running here. Okay. I see you on the other side. 1, 2, 3. One summer day, she went away. She gone and left me. She's gonna stay. But now she's gone, I can't worry. I'm sitting on top of the world. I worked all the summer, I worked all fall. I had to take Christmas and my overall. But now she's gone, I don't worry. I'm sitting on top of the world. Going out of the freight yard, catch me a freight train. Gonna leave this world, work done got hard. But now she's gone, I don't worry. I'm sitting on top of the world. Right? Pretty good. Common sense says you're just going to end on the chord you started on, right? In E7, we're in the key of E. Technically, because of the capo, we're not in the key of E. What key are we actually in? A half step higher than E. What key are we in? You guys know that. You know it. But our fretting hand thinks we're in the key of E, right? Because E7, that'd be the 1 chord. A7 would be the 4 chord. A minor is also the 4 chord. It's just the 4 chord as a minor. By the way, to my knowledge, only Howlin Wolf's version does that thing where the 4 chord shows up as a minor. Oh, it's so cool. And that was one of many deciding factors when I thought about whose version of this to do in our live stream. It's like, oh, it's a great song. Chris Creates knows that we're in the key of F, also known as the concert key of F, right? That means if we're playing a concert, the listeners are hearing the key of F, just that our fretting hand is not playing any F chords, but the listener is hearing those E7s as F7s. The A7 sounds like a B flat 7 or an A sharp 7 and so on. The B7 sounds like a C7, but our left hand doesn't know any of that. Okay, so again, that A minor, oh, it's such a cool sound. And no, to my knowledge, the different versions I listened to preparing for tonight's live stream, nobody else did that right there. So how cool is that? Grateful Dead's version is super fast. Doc Watson finger picks it on acoustic guitar. So fun. One of my favorite parts in preparing for these live streams with you guys is when I get to do a deep dive into a tune and just realize how deep the song goes in our culture, you know, so deep that I'm going to fix that typo in the title. It shall not stand. So what can I tell you? This what you're looking at right now is a PDF that's available for members of my website, song-bike.com. It's $10 a month. You get access to lots and lots and lots of stuff. So I encourage you to do that. What else can I tell you? You can see why this song checks all the boxes. Famous tune, slow tune. It has a nice clarity about it. It's 9 measures, 3 chords. Well, 5 chords if you count, A7 and A minor, because those are 2 different ones, and the 2 different types of E7. Yeah. All right. How'd you guys do? I bet you did great. You did great. Here's a little something I found interesting. When I went to Spotify and typed in the title, only 4 versions popped up. Howlin Wolf, Doc Watson, Mississippi Sheiks, the original version, the OG version, and now I forget the 4th. But the song has been recorded by, like I said, dozens and dozens of people. So I'm just reminded that Spotify is not really a music phenomenon. It's a tech phenomenon. It's a business phenomenon. I just realized that I put a lot of faith. You type something in your computer and you expect a complete answer, and Spotify wasn't even close. When I did a deep dive, if I typed in like the band Grateful Dead sitting on top of the world, then Spotify pulled it up for me. But that's different, like I wanted to know, I was hoping Spotify would list all the available versions of the song, and it did not do that. I don't know, maybe I missed something. Hey, Randy, thanks for your super chat. A super chat is how you can support our live stream, Song Bucks. Go to support it. A to Z Me says Dylan has a version of it as well. Yep, I'm sure you're right. Did he do that on one of those his folky albums from the mid 90s? I bet he did, right? Yeah. So to me, I find it fascinating. I was an American Studies major in college, and then I've been a music major my whole life, you could say. So to, like I said, to be aware of songs that go so deep into our culture, I just find that so fascinating, and that's why I'm sharing it with you. Anybody, let us know in the chat if you had never heard that song before ever in your life. I mean, that's, hey, not your fault. I had, the Queen song Bohemian Rhapsody. I went decade. I never heard that song in my life. How did I miss that song? I have no idea. I never heard that song in my life. I was probably well into my 40s, maybe. I don't know. You miss stuff. There's just stuff that, what can you say? You miss stuff. A to Z Me says it was on Good As I've Been to You. Yeah. Nice. I have a theory about those two albums. And it's almost completely based on the artwork. The first one of the two Bob Dylan albums where he covers all these great old folk tunes. The first one, Good As I've Been to You, the cover art is not so great. And it's almost as if the record company and Dylan didn't really expect it to get that great of a response. And then I think it did get a good response. And they put a little more effort into the second one called A to Z Me, help me out here. The second one, much cooler cover. Just everything about it seemed like they made an effort to make it a cool product. Nothing wrong with the performances on either one. It just seems like the second one, I don't know. World Gone Wrong, right? World Gone Wrong is the second one, I think. TEH, Captain Hare says, I've never heard the song before, but I've only gone into the blues the last couple of years. Beautiful, beautiful. Winston says, I never heard it before. When I saw the title, I thought of the Carpenters. Did they have a similar title? I came across a song with the same title that bore no resemblance whatsoever. Supposedly, though, according to Wikipedia, there were at least one other song with the same title as the Mississippi Sheiks song that we just did, but different. A to Z Me loves those Dylan albums. Yeah, very, very. He recorded them in his garage, I think, right? I mean, a couple of mics and you're good to go, right? It's like a vocal mic and a guitar mic, and I mean the guitar could have even been plugged in direct. Maybe it didn't even have a mic, but I wouldn't be surprised if the guitar, had its own mic. Anyways, but yeah, my understanding was he has a little garage recording studio, and Bob Dylan's garage might be a little bit different than our garages, or maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe his wife's SUV drips a little oil as well. Maybe, never know. Anyways, A to Z Me, thank you for the information. Okay, don't forget to vote in our poll. Where do we stand? 35% of you do buy music in the form of CDs, records, and tapes. 25% you do pay for music, but to stream it, like Spotify and 8%, all of the above. And 32%, a solid third, basically, nope, no reason to buy music anymore. I will buy CDs to support people who could use the support. I'll gladly do that. I might never listen to the CD. I just stream the music, but I figure the performer, the artist, will get the money from me buying the CD, and then they'll get whatever pennies they get from the streaming services. So at least I'm contributing just a little bit more. It's just tricky to, it's so easy to stream music, right? Anyways, that's what's going on. Okay. Hey, you guys got to ask me a question, man. Has anyone asked me a question tonight? Someone asked me a question. Put a question in the chat with a bunch of question marks. If by any chance I missed one of your questions from earlier tonight, please do ask it again. Everyone having a good time? Oh, so let me tell you real quick. If things look a tiny bit different, I'm in my new location on the Boston Post Road, the Post Road studio. I'd been at my previous music shop location for 19 years. And for a bunch of reasons, it was time to move, mostly because the building was falling apart. And can't have that, can't do business if the building's falling apart. And the building was up for sale, and it was time to make a move. So, oh man, I will give you a tour of the digs. I know I threw up a picture last time at the end of the last live stream, but we've come a long way in a week. I'm up and running. Thursday was my first day doing business. Charlie Beagle, you still there? Charlie Beagle, you'll be happy to know my landlord and my neighbor is a pizza place. You got it. So pizza is at my beck and call. I'm going to try not to make it a total habit. I'm going to, they have lots of yummy food, and my goal is to develop a signature salad. Because if I have that 2 or 3 times a week, that is a good move. So maybe I'll come up with a custom thing, and they'll, between you and me, one of my life goals is to have a salad named after me, like the Jonathan salad. That would be awesome. Or maybe the music salad or whatever, you know. I don't need to have my name. I just figure, oh, if I do that a couple times a week, you know, for lunch, that's kind of, because I'm here all day. You know, it's my happy place. So don't cry for me, Argentina. It's my happy place. But it's easy for me to be here 10 or 12 hours. So I'm gonna need some snacks and some lunch. So I'm very happy with the new location. Thursday was my first day of lessons. I had 9 students on Thursday, or maybe 7 or 9, handful on Friday, another bunch today. It's working out great, man. The Wi-Fi somehow, long story short, they got the Wi-Fi installed like that. Not without drama. The number one drama being, after I signed the contract and was ready to go, I asked for the 20th time, you know, when's it going to get installed? And they couldn't give me a date until the ink was dry in the contract. Well, the ink dried, and they said, end of July. End of July, man. The world might not even be standing the end of July. It might as well be Christmas, right? And I said, no, that's not like that. It was kind of funny. Like, you just had to laugh. Like, I said, no, it can't, like, it doesn't work. Well, I don't think I came up with any special negotiating tactic. I just said, I'm sorry, but I can't do that. I can't wait till the end of July for internet, you know? And so magically they got it done in a couple of hours yesterday. Why was there any drama? I don't know, made me crazy. Barry says, what is the best advice for any aspiring guitarist? Great question. The best advice. I have lots of advice. Let's see. Let me give you maybe a bunch of good advice. You have to play every day. If you don't feel like playing every day, you probably shouldn't go into, the guitar as a profession. If you're playing as a hobby, then yeah, it's a hobby. You do it when you can do it, right? But even as a hobbyist, you really want to play every day. That's pretty much non-negotiable. Or just accept that certain things aren't going to come as fast. The frustration level kind of changes if you're not playing every day, you know? So you got to play every day, and you got to want to play every day, you know? Take your guitar to a luthier. No matter what you're playing, this includes all of us. It's very likely that a guitar tech can make it play better. You do it once, get it adjusted just right, you're going to love it. And then you won't need those adjustments again, potentially for years, potentially, right? For a long time. Might cost you $100, but you'll be so glad you did it. So I would tell that to an aspiring guitar player. Usually guitar techs are so busy, they don't want to cheat you out of your money. I'm not saying never. I'm just saying that if your guitar doesn't need a tune-up, doesn't need any adjustments, they just want to hand it back to you. Like, dude, it's fine. Why did the guy tell you to bring it to me? You know, they're too busy. The guys I know, they don't need the work. They would rather spend the time doing an expensive repair that they're going to charge a lot for. They don't want a guitar that's ready to go. But it's good to confirm that. It's good to bring it to someone. Other advice, scales, arpeggios. You should always have, for lack of a better term, you should always have technical stuff that you're working on, not your favorite songs every day. Yeah, you should play your favorite songs every day, but that shouldn't be your whole practice session. You gotta put in the work to get the skills to play your favorite song. So with a teacher's help, you want to find a balanced diet. What's going to make your fretting hand more confident, stronger, although we're not talking about brute strength, but what's going to make your fretting hand more skilled, more competent. You want to do those things: scales, arpeggios, different exercises. And then, practicing your favorite songs. That's great. But you need that. This is advice I wish I could give myself back on day one. I started playing the guitar at 16, and I was having a great time. I learned how to play the guitar, but I could have made a lot of progress a lot faster if I took the advice I'm giving you right there. What else? You got to work with a teacher. And you got to shop around to find the right teacher for you. An in-person teacher, someone who can take your hand and say, pinky, someone who can grab your arm and move stuff. If you're serious about it, you want an in-person teacher, and do what they tell you. It's not a negotiation. Do what the teacher tells you. If the teacher truly isn't a good fit, weeks go by and it's not a good fit. Okay, that's one thing. What else? Play with a pick. At first, you're going to say, "Oh, I feel so much better with my hands. The pick feels weird." Play with a pick. Do it. If you're going to commit to playing fingerstyle guitar for the rest of your life, then take fingerstyle lessons and learn how to do it right. But don't play with your pointer finger and your thumb just because the pick feels funny on day one, right? Nah, play with a pick. Buy a handful of different picks and see which one feels good. But keep all the others, because you're going to change your mind. A year later, you might be like, well, wait a minute. I kind of like how this one feels, Anyways, those are a bunch of things that come to mind. I hope some of those are good. And those are, obviously, I'm, a little bit of tough love. You said an aspiring guitarist. So I'm picturing someone on the younger side who, is thinking about, hey, I might want to be involved in making music as a profession. But it goes for all of us, anybody who's picking up the guitar, stretching. Stretch out your hands, lots of stretching, lots of self-massage, especially your fretting fingers, never hurts. Before a practice session, in the middle of a practice session, there must be some YouTube videos out there on good stretches for guitar players. I have to admit, I don't know, but there must be. Take care of yourself. Listen to your body. Any aches or pains, stop playing. Shake out your hand. It's not supposed to hurt. Not your wrist, arm, hand. Your flesh and your fingertips. That's supposed to hurt. That's different. If you're in it for the long run, you got to listen to your body for sure. Play with other people. This might be the hardest of all of them, because you got to find people who are better than you, who are still happy to have you hang out with them, right? Even though they're better than you are. If I could wave a magic wand, I would give you guys all of that. And that might be the hardest of everything I just said. Playing with other people who are more experienced, that might be better than everything I just said, except the thing about listening to your body. It's huge, but hard to find those scenarios. Chris says, do you ever have a gig and you don't have enough energy for the gig? How do you rev up to go on stage? Nope, that's not, of all my issues, that's not one of them. I'm pretty excited to play. So no, I guess I can't relate to that. Let me think. No, I'm so excited to play. I'm sorry, Chris. I don't have an answer for that. Especially when I'm playing with a friend, I certainly don't want to let them down, right? No matter what, I want to bring my A game. So I want to make sure I have that kind of energy. And then if it's a solo gig, I'm excited for that too. So, yeah. Hey, Winston says, one from last week. When you are soloing, do you use your pinky to anchor you to the guitar body? You're talking about my fretting hand, our fretting hands. Short answer, sometimes. Longer answer, we should never press our pinkies hard into the guitar. You might be doing it, not be aware that you're doing it. There are definitely times when, I'm going to finger pick for a minute here, definitely times when I might have my pinky lightly touching when I'm finger picking, but I don't have to. Sometimes I just do it without thinking. Sometimes I remind myself that, there's no reason for me to do that, and I tuck it back away, tuck it in with my other fingers. So there's no law that says you're not allowed to touch, but everyone would agree that you want no tension in that pinky finger, and you certainly don't want to press hard into the guitar. I used to do that, especially if I was as a younger performer, it just as a security blanket, so to speak. And I would in real time, as I was playing the song and singing, I think, oh God, I'm doing that pinky thing, and I can feel it stiffening up and grinding the guitar, and I couldn't break out of that because I was young and foolish, Shovel says, clip your nails. Yeah, that's great advice. We all should have as short as possible. Our nails on a fretting hand as short as possible. You kind of figured that out yourself after you play for a day or two, right? So I'm looking back. So Winston, the time I'm most likely to do that is when I'm finger picking, but I don't recommend it or not recommend it. I'm just aware that I do it. Other times though, my pinky will hang down, and it might give the illusion that it's doing something. And it's just because I like to think it's because my right hand is so relaxed that I'm letting it touch the guitar, but that's because my fingers are so relaxed, right? I don't have to do that. But I know I catch myself doing it, but that's totally different. That's like I said, I'm trying to only use the muscles that I need, and these fingers are hanging down. It's really interesting to watch pros, famous guitar players, anyone on YouTube, and watch what they're doing with their pinky and or their other fingers, especially if they're holding a pick. You'll notice everything. You look closely enough, you'll notice maybe some hybrid picking. Maybe their middle and ring fingers will be reaching in and grabbing notes the way a banjo player would do it. Yeah, it's fun to watch. When you should be just enjoying the beauty of music, you're going to be like geeking out over, stuff like this. But it's interesting. Oh, Mike Jam says Chet Atkins rested his pinky there. Interesting. Yeah, you may be right. Yeah. You watch enough guitar players, and you can find an example of everything. Just everything you can imagine. Sooner or later, you'll find, an example of someone who holds their pick with their thumb and their middle finger, right? I mean, you name it. People missing fingers. I mean, the guitar is so visible, around the globe, that you can find an example of anything. And the question is that person's, whatever you're noticing, is that what makes them so good? Or is it simply a quirk that's part of their playing style? I used to watch a lot of Major League Baseball on TV, and you watch enough hitters and you realize every hitter has their own stance. And some of their stances are so unique that even if you just saw the silhouette, you'd know, like, that's the third baseman because he's the guy who stands that way, right? Like you don't even you can see it a mile away, right? I mean, I wouldn't say every player has a totally obvious, unique stance, but a bunch of them do, right? You watch your home team and you become aware of that. And that's just another example. And don't forget, we are athletes. What we're doing, we're using our body in very specific ways with very specific hopes and dreams and goals, right? And we're using our bodies in real time, just like an athlete, right? Not every art in the world of arts happens in real time, right? I always use the example of writing the great American novel. Yeah, you can do a page today, 2 pages tomorrow. You can take a week off, whatever. Sports, the ball is coming at your face. Music, the song is happening. The drummer's drumming, and there's no margin, right? It's happening in real time. So yeah, it's happening in real time. Charlie Beagle says, I missed the beginning. Is this live stream coming from the new place? You're right, Charlie Beagle. Got the pizza joint right over there. I know you're wondering, well, does my new place smell really good? So far, it doesn't. I guess because it's just a nice solid construction. As soon as I step outside, I can smell the pizza place and all the other good food they cook. It's way beyond pizza, but it smells great. It really does. Okay, I'm looking at some other questions in the chat here. Thank you guys for coming up with these questions. I love answering your questions. Beginner guitar lessons in terms of like getting into a performance. He says, as soon as I step on stage, my adrenaline revs me up. Yeah. Oh yeah, beginning guitar lessons is in our lesson we talked about a cool exercise. Okay, make sure I get it right here. It's a cool finger exercise that he found online and he shared with me. This is all about your fretting hand. There's no picking going on. The idea is you have all 4 fingers on the 4 frets of a string. I'm going to do the skinny string right here. Now, to the best of your ability, you're going to move your middle and pinky together from the 2nd and 4th frets of the 1st string to the 2nd and 4th frets of the 2nd string. Oh my God. Okay. The index and ring are going to stay there. Okay. See what's going on here? I have to admit, beginning guitar lessons, I have not been practicing this. That's my chance to confess. I haven't been practicing this, but I love the idea. So again, index, middle, ring, and pinky, each on their own personal fret on the 1st skinny string. The index and ring are going to stay down, but the middle and pinky are going to move over to the 2nd string. And you do that over and over and over again. And when that gets, old, you move the 1st and 3rd fingers you move your index and ring from the 1st string to the 2nd string. But in case I'm not making it clear, you leave your middle and pinky down, right? Oh, weird, right? Is there anybody who feels really that this is the easiest thing they've ever done? Is there anybody watching who this is completely impossible and you just can't do it? Most of us are somewhere in between, right? By the way, this is how you practice when the rest of the house is asleep, right? You don't want to wake anybody up. Or if you got, an apartment with a neighbor right next door. Very interesting. Whew. And definitely, I don't know about you guys, but I can feel a little tension. So, shake it out. Now, my instinct, anytime someone shows me, any kind of physical exercise like this, is to try to make some sort of song out of it, or say, "Wow, could somehow this turn into like a famous tune?" What song is that? Name that tune. That could be a little exercise that kind of comes from this. I mean, at least if it's what I think it is, it does kind of relate to this exercise. Name that tune. Anybody? Anybody? Yeah. Scott says it's hard. Randy says it's hard. What tune is that? Come on, don't leave me hanging here. Come on, you know what song that is. Beginner Guitar Lesson says he's gotten better at doing the index and ring, making them the movable ones, but he's less good at moving the middle and pinky over. What a trip, right? What a trip. There you go, Chris Creates. Yeah, the Friends theme song. Da 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 dun dun da dun dun. Right. So I'm not saying this exercise produces that song, but since we're playing these 4 notes anyways, or that theme song relates to it. Skinny string third string. Sorry. Skinny string 3rd fret. Skinny string 1st fret. 2nd string 4th fret. 2nd string 2nd fret. 2 times. 2nd string 4th fret. I'll put this in the description of the video, by the way. 1st string 1st fret. Back to 2nd string 4th fret. I'll tab this out in the description of the video. I don't know. I like any exercise. I like trying to get something out of it, right? Although that is not the point of this particular exercise. This is a silent finger move exercise. Yeah, very cool. You got to come up with a name of this. Someone give this exercise a name, not the Friends theme song. I'm just talking about the actual finger moving exercise. Put some name suggestions in the chat, so we can give this some sort of name, right? You got to have some sort of name for it. Okay, should I sell out? I don't know. Should I sell out? Let me see if I have any offers in. I can't tell you how disappointed I am that Sennheiser audio equipment has just ghosted me. They reached out to me to to sort of sponsor what I do, and I said, great, I'd love to work with you, Sennheiser microphones, Sennheiser audio equipment. And I said, to be clear, I'm not a gear review channel. Like, if you send me microphones, I'm not the kind of channel that's going to talk about the specs and how great this microphone is. Like, I don't know, man. But if you send me a microphone, I'll use it. And I'll tell people I'm using a cool Sennheiser microphone, and you guys will, hopefully like the sound of it, and it could be good for their business. And they ghosted me. They just disappeared. For those of you listening, not watching, I'm extending my lower lip like a petulant child. Petulant. That's fine, man. That's fine. You got thick skin, but don't reach out to me if you're not going to talk to me. Jeez Louise. Well, I'm not seeing any crazy offers this week. Oh, maybe I read them already. Maybe they're in there. No, I don't think I've got a whole lot of crazy offers. Okay, so I'm going to drop it. We'll move on. We'll revisit this theme next week, the Should I Sell Out theme. All right, you guys. Hey, I've been having good luck with that music stand light that I bought. So no pressure, but if you are kind of in a darker space and you'd like, not mentally, environmentally, and you think you could benefit from a light that clips onto your music stand, shines on there, I feel pretty good about recommending it. There's a Sweetwater affiliate link to get the light that I got. It's in the description of this video, and last week's as well. It wasn't cheap, but it's good. It's bright. And it has 2 little lights that can be angled on goosenecks, and it's rechargeable, so no reason to buy batteries. So I feel pretty good about it. I'm definitely aware that a lot of my students, a lot of people in general, don't have the optimal setup. They don't have a decent chair. They don't have a decent music stand. They don't have decent lighting, which, I get. Everything costs money and it takes up space. I get that. But, sitting on the sofa and the music is sort of vaguely on the arm of the sofa over there. And I mean, it sounds relaxing, but it's not a recipe for success, you know? So that's why I feel comfortable, you know, encouraging guys to make sure your music is well lit. Make sure you got a music stand that is adjustable, that puts the music wherever works best for you. You know, sit in a decent chair with some good posture, you know. I recommend it. Okay, Winston, I'm reading your comment here in the chat. Okay, Winston says, when I first started to learn guitar, I was told that I would never watch someone play the guitar the same way I used to. They were right. Less listening and more watching. Interesting. So Winston, I think your point is that now that you are, you know, a guitar player, you look at things differently, right? Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's true. Yeah. And YouTube and social media just gives us so many images of guitar players. But you know what, Winston, it's true of listening as well. You know, in general, we all appreciate stuff more, you know, in a different way. Like instead of just saying, wow, that person's super fast, you know, they're super fast. And maybe they are a super fast guitar player, but you might notice other things. You might appreciate someone who's not doing anything fast, but the tone is so good, you know. You just appreciate things more and more and more. I've heard people say that even if you get frustrated with the guitar and actually completely stop playing the guitar, I'm going to say the Q word, you quit the guitar, that you still benefit from the awareness you now have at how hard the guitar is. And that's not my philosophy. I don't want anyone to stop playing the guitar, but I see, I mean, that's one silver lining for all of us, especially if you, whether you play forever or at some point in your life you need to put it down. Yeah, you appreciate how much work, you know, goes into the whole process. But I prefer to do my best to keep people going, as opposed to giving them a pat in the back and saying, it's okay to, you know, it's okay. I get it. If you quit, I get it. It's hard, but hey, at least you appreciate all the great players out there. To me, that is cold comfort. I'd rather find a way to like, how can we keep you going? What can we do? Sometimes it has to do with finding satisfaction in things that are relatively easy. A quick example is, and I'll do this whenever it's appropriate with a student. Now, if they can get a nice Muddy Waters blues riff like that going, I can move over to the drums and play along with them. And in my experience, that's a really fun time for everyone involved. Nothing wrong with playing and just getting good at the riff, whatever the riff happens to be. But when you do it with another musician on another instrument, I mean, drums and guitar, like, it's you know, my hope is that the student says, holy cow, man, this thing, I know it's kind of easy, but it sounds so good when there's a flow going, right? And I just wish I could make that happen every lesson with a variety of things. I mean, I kind of can, but it's such a positive experience, right? So my feeling is, hey, before you quit, let's have some fun. Let's have like one more jam session. And that jam session might just convince you that, you know what, if you can do that with a drummer, well, you know, what about this other thing? Could you do that one? Because there's a lot of easy stuff out there, right? Not every cool thing on the guitar is some big hard thing, right? So anyways, that's where I'm coming from. Let's see if we can keep it going and find some satisfaction in a variety of ways. Okay, I'm looking at what you guys are saying in the chat here. Okay. A to Z Me says, I found that when I started playing the 3-finger version of G more fluently, it freed up my other fingers to get a little more practice. Maybe because those 3 fingers were getting confident, right? They getting the muscle they need, the flexibility they need. All this stuff builds on itself, right? Success on one chord helps with the next chord. It really does. Then it says, what's a decent chair for playing the guitar? No arms. Can't have any arms in the chair, right? Not too comfortable, right? You don't want to like sink down in a big fluffy, upholstered chair. Not too high, unless it's some sort of bar stool that has a place for your feet. Even though a strap can solve a lot of issues, you still want to be able to plant your feet comfortably on the ground. What I have, check this out. This is not cheap. Okay. The Rock and Sock. You guys see that? The Rock and Sock. It's a drum throne. And see that little lever right there? Like an office chair. So I can adjust it for my students or for myself, depending on whatever I'm doing, I think I paid $150 for it. I'm sure that was 20 years ago. I'm sure it's more expensive now. But it's comfortable enough for sure. No arms. The height is adjustable. To me, that's ideal. You want it to be a little bit comfortable, right? Like a hard wooden chair, that could be a little bit rough. But yeah, to have your feet flat on the ground, that's huge. But like I said, the strap, even those of you guys who play sitting down all the time, maybe with acoustic, don't rule out the benefits of having a strap. I'm not saying you have to, but keep it in mind. Okay. Shovel says, I have one of those magical D18s. Every time I play it, I get a little closer to Carnegie Hall. Love it. Love it. The Martin D18, you can't go wrong with a Martin guitar. I have the Martin D16, which same thing, but just a few little tweaks that they can push in the marketing department. But it's still basically a mahogany back and sides Martin D-shaped guitar. Chan says, do you write your own songs? And if so, where can I hear them? Do you have a favorite song you've written, and why is it your favorite? Yeah, I do write my own songs. I'm dying to share them with you. I got to get a couple of them just right. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? It's one thing to like say, well, here's something that's not done yet. It kind of goes like this. And I've done that, in other contexts. I'd rather like get something just right. And feel like there's not a thing I would change. My favorite, whatever I'm working on at the moment is like my favorite one. I can tell you what, my buddy Clay, you and I remember you remember he and I back in February, we did a gig. You can actually watch the gig on YouTube. I have to edit it. There's a lot of dead air during the gig. I have to edit that stuff out. When he likes one of my songs, that goes a long way to making it my current favorite song. That goes for anybody, right? And any positive feedback you get, I think we're only human, right? You look at the song with new love, like not only do you like it, but apparently someone else on the planet likes that song. Like, oh man, then it must be pretty good, right? It must be. So I'm not immune to that. I'm definitely influenced by those in my immediate circle. If they like it, then I feel like I've got something. I'm always struck by the story I heard about Tom Petty trusting his band. In the recording studio, say, hey, I have this song. What do you guys think? And sometimes they'd be like, nope, it's not ready yet, And I don't even remember where I heard that, but I want to believe it. And talk about trust, man. That's pretty cool that a group of musicians can have that kind of trust, and and if the end result is as successful as Tom Petty, as his catalog of songs was and is, then hey, you can't argue with that kind of success. But interesting. Oh, what's the story behind Free Fallin'? In at least one Tom Petty documentary, the bass player walked out of the recording session, thought Free Fallin' was a subpar song. Like, nope. Said, nah, I can't, you know, I can't play on that song. I don't like it. I can't play on it. It was Free Fallin'. Ouch. But hey, you know what? Free Fallin' is it's a pretty simple tune. I can understand a bass player. I can understand another musician being like, I don't know, man. I can kind of get it a little bit. You know, who knows? Who knows? Hey, you know what? Yeah, Chris says drummers have thrones. Yeah, they call them drum thrones. Yep. Chris says, please do a live stream about songwriting. My approach, your approach. I would like to know how you look at it. Oh, I'd love to. I'd love to. Hey, before we wrap up, how about I keep mentioning that we'll do a segment on songwriter guitar. Let's start it today. We have a few minutes, I think, before it's time to wrap up. For those of you who have stuck with the live stream for these past 2 hours, let's call this chapter 1 in songwriter guitar. I made a video on I think I called it Guitar for Songwriters. And I thought that was going to be my big, way back when, I thought that was going to be my big video, and that I would do a book called Guitar for Songwriters. And it wasn't that the video went nowhere, but it turned out to not be the one that the world wanted. That's fine. Who knows, man? Who knows? So how about if we do this one last thing? And Chris, I would love to talk about songwriting. It's such a personal thing. It's such a big topic, right? Okay, so the topic we're about to talk about is approaching playing the guitar as a creative person, with the end result being a conventional song, verse, chorus, a conventional song, right? I just want to create like a little framework, a little boundaries. I want to skip over some obvious stuff, or I should say I want to tweak some obvious stuff so we can get right, into some good creative ideas, some good sounds. We all know that songwriters use chords, and a lot of songs are written with regular chords. G, D, C, E minor. I keep learning Ed Sheeran songs for students. Ed Sheeran, very talented guy, but so many of his songs are those 4 chords, G, C, D, and E minor, with the capo in different places. Doesn't mean he's not a creative guy. I think he's a very creative guy, but it's just proof that you can't escape these chords, and why would you want to? Okay, so let's assume that we're all on the same page, that there are, I always say, 16 chords, majors, minors, and sevenths, that you kind of can't live without. And we all know and love them, right? A minor, A7, B minor, B7, C, C7, D, D minor, D7, E minor, E7, F, G, and G7. I think I got all 16 right there. Okay, but let's talk about what a songwriter should do, can do, often does. I'm going to use A minor as an example. Okay. If I were to give advice to someone who wanted to write songs and they had their chords down, okay, they could play a bunch of chords, life is good. As soon as possible, start experimenting with either taking off an existing finger or adding on a finger that's not doing anything anyways, which is typically the pinky, right? For the record, I'm playing an A minor chord, but as I'm strumming it, I'm lifting off my index finger and putting it back down. I'm adding my pinky on the 2nd string, 3rd fret, and lifting it off. All this music is coming out, but I'm still grounded on the A minor chord. And those are just the first things that came to mind. Pinky on the 1st string, 3rd fret, but then lift it off. Does that remind you of Angie by the Rolling Stones? I believe that's, inherent to Keith Richards' strumming from Angie. An A minor chord, but pinky on the 1st string, 3rd fret. And your pinky, as a songwriter strumming chords, your pinky is a secret weapon. On so many chords, the song the pinky is not doing anything. And then you can just experiment, get creative. Where can the pinky jump to add in a new sound? Either as a temporary thing, like a little, or at, plant that finger and actually make that one of the chords of the song. So many there's too many possibilities, right? But you want to take advantage of that. An obvious way, I think it's obvious, an obvious way to insert this concept in your songs is you've come to the end of a lyric, a line, a phrase, a vocal phrase, and there's a little space, right? You gotta put something in that space. I'm talking about Angie and how Keith Richards played Angie. This is just a stream of consciousness lyrics about Angie. Okay, a little goes a long way. You don't want to be that person who doesn't fill up the space, right? Oh, I don't even want to play it. I don't want to do that again without filling up the space. It sounds too horrible. It sounds like, oh, why? You miss it. You miss that little teeny tiny sound. So you definitely want to put stuff like that in there as a songwriter. Notice we're not talking about abandoning our favorite chords, the everyone's favorite chords, the chords that are in all the songs we hear. We're still playing A minor, but all of a sudden you're getting all this mileage out of an A minor chord. Everything I'm talking about goes for every chord you know. Don't forget, here's Tom Petty speaking of Free Fallin'. It's like, are you kidding me? That's the entire song? Are you kidding me? Well, hey, in the right hands, a D chord, D, but you add your pinky on the first string, third fret, and then you reverse it, an A. I mean, who in their right mind would say, that's it, man, I got a song, man. Let's record it tomorrow morning. How could that be a song? You gotta have some confidence, man. You gotta have some confidence to be like, yeah, I got this. There's a whole interesting story behind Free Fallin'. I encourage you guys, if you're Tom Petty fans, to do a deep dive in. Tom Petty was improvising the lyrics, just kind of, the verses. And the producer's like, sounds good to me. Let's record it like what you just said. Let's just record it like that. The rest is history. Okay, so in terms of guitar for songwriters, absolutely the first thing that comes to mind, get creative with the chords you already know. Whether you're simply putting in little embellishments, little tiny individual sounds to fill in some quiet spots or whatever, or if you are modifying the chords in a permanent way, so to speak, where that new thing that's gonna be the chord. I'm doing a G chord with the middle ring and pinky. My index is free to grab the second string, first fret. The more you do this, by the way, just experimenting, the more your memory is going to be triggered, and you're going to say, wait, I've heard that before. Like when I did the thing with Angie. Because people use this stuff. Sometimes it's used in such a memorable way that you think, crap, I can't do that because that's already been done. Shoot, but that's life. I mean, it's 2025. There's been a lot of good songs written. So you have to find your own combinations. Anyways, I know it's time to wrap up, so I'll leave you with that thought, and to be continued. Okay, I have lots of thoughts about how you can write songs, but how you can what skills I think a songwriter should have on the guitar. You don't have to be an amazing guitar player. In fact, just the opposite. I mean, think about that. An A minor chord, but you lift off your pointer finger. That's actually less work, right? It's subtractive, I'll leave you with this thought. I forget where I heard this, but I heard someone describe a certain level of piano playing as songwriter piano. And they meant it as in, well, the person can play songwriter piano. They can put the song across. It's not a particularly impressive set of skills, but that's not the point. They can write the song, they can sing the song, they can play the piano, the band can join in. Life is good. Think of how many songwriters are typically on stage with a guitar, but they have a handful of songs they do on piano. I mean, all of them, unless they already, Elton John, right? How about the reverse? Billy Joel. I've seen Billy Joel photos of him playing guitar, or Jackson Browne playing the guitar. I think of Jackson Browne as a piano player mainly, but he can play guitar. Okay. Anyways, you don't have to. It's not about being an amazing guitar player, right? But getting as much creativity out of what you already know. How about if next time we talk about some strumming patterns and stuff? Scott Rhodes says Warren Zevon did both. Yeah, I wonder though, was he more one or the other? I mean, maybe someone could be pretty mediocre at both instruments. I mean that respectfully. They could be equally not great. But the song, I mean, doesn't mean that they're not writing great songs, Let It Be on piano, Paul McCartney. I have no idea how good a piano player Paul McCartney is, but I can play Let It Be. You can play Let It Be on the piano. It's not, I mean, note for note. I'm not talking about a version of it. Like it really is not that hard to do, but it's Let It Be, man. What an amazing song, right? So let's end on that note. Guitar for songwriters. You get a lot of bang for your buck based on what you already know. You have to twist things, get creative, turn them upside down, and so on. Hey, I'm going to say a few good nights. Randy, Scott. Hey, I saw a super chat before I forget. I'm going to scroll up here because I would hate to miss it. Oh, now my computer's acting funny. There we go. I try to scroll up in the chat. Ooh, and I want to talk about the poll results before I wrap up. Hey, Barry, I want to thank you for your super chat, Barry. I appreciate that. I'm sorry, I forgot to thank you when it first came in. Poll results at the end of the night, and then I'll say some good nights. Okay, come on now. Come on. The question was, do you buy music anymore? Tied at 34%. No. And yes, I buy CDs, records, and tapes. Each got 34% of the vote. Next, in second place, yes, I do buy music, specifically being via streaming services, and 9% all of the above. Interesting, very interesting. All right, you guys. So I'm going to say my good nights. I hope I'm very grateful that the live stream went well. This new internet. And I'm sure I'll be telling you more stories, maybe give you a little tour of the place in the future. Chan, thank you for being here. Chan says, thank you very much. Great time. Chan, thank you. So good night, Chan. Good night, Scott, Randy, Winston. Good night. Dennis, Mike Jam. You guys are all saying thank you. And I want to say one big, you are welcome to all of you. A to Z, me, Chris. Who else is still beginning guitar lessons? Thank you for being our moderator tonight. And Music Fan, thank you for being our moderator. Music Fan, call me. Let's do dinner. I believe it's in our marriage contract that we actually have to do dinner tonight. But what's it going to be? Our son is home from college. I'm so excited. Rock Lobster, thank you for being here. Winston, I said hi to Winston. And good night, Shovel. Okay, if I'm missing anybody, I would just want to say thank you for being here. Let's do this all again next week. Head over to my website, song-bike.com, become a member, buy yourself a t-shirt, baseball hat, whatever turns you on. Lots of information is in the description of this video already, and more will be added when I timestamp tonight's video tomorrow morning. Thanks for being here, everybody, and I'll see you next Saturday. We're coming up on our 2-year anniversary. Next Saturday is just about our 2-year anniversary. It's May 13th, I believe, is our 2-year anniversary. So next Saturday, just before that, good times. And that'll be our 96th live stream. So we're getting closer and closer to number 100. 100. Holy cow. All right, you guys, have a great week. Hope you have a chance to play the guitar a lot. I'll see you next Saturday.